In the misty valleys of the Carpathian Mountains, nestled deep within the forests, lies the forgotten village of Murik. The villagers live in constant fear, for they know of the creatures that roam the forests at night, werewolves. The village is divided into those who still believe in the old stories and those who scoff at them, dismissing them as tales to scare children. But only the elders know the truth of the werewolves, a truth that hides a dark and terrible secret. Two clans of werewolves dominate the forest. The first, the Moros, are cruel and savage, led by their fearsome alpha, Vargas. His dark fur gleams under the moonlight, and his yellow eyes burn with the cold fire of a killer. Vargas believes in the survival of the fittest and delights in hunting down anyone who dares wander too close to his territory. He and his pack feed on fear and flesh, driven by an insatiable hunger that has no boundaries. The second clan, the Luma, are different, noble and kind by nature, though no less fearsome in battle. Led by the gentle but powerful Alpha, Selene, they seek to protect humans from the dark creatures of the forest, including the Moros. Selene's silver-gray fur shimmers under the moon, and her blue eyes reflect a wisdom far beyond her years. Her clan lives in secret, only intervening when danger threatens the village. They have sworn an oath to shield humanity from the horrors of their darker kin. For centuries, the two clans have been locked in a fragile balance, each knowing that an outright war would only bring destruction to both sides. The Luma keep the Moros at bay, and in return, the Moros allow them to live barely. But the truce is fragile, and tensions have begun to rise as Vargas grows bolder with each passing year. One fateful night, a young villager named Liana stumbles into the forest, lost after fleeing an argument with her family. The moon is full, and she can feel the eyes of predators watching her from the shadows. Panic sets in as she hears growling behind her, a deep, menacing sound that chills her to the bone. Vargas emerges from the shadows, his massive form blocking her path. His lips curl into a cruel smile, revealing sharp fangs that glint in the moonlight. A lost little lamb, he growls, his voice a low rumble. How fortunate for me. But just as Vargas is about to strike, Selene appears, leaping between them. Her fur is bristling, and her eyes lock with Vargas's in a silent challenge. Leave her, Selene commands. She is under my protection. Vargas snarls but steps back, though not without a final threat. One day, Selene, you will not be there to protect them all. And when that day comes, the blood of this village will be mine. With that, Vargas disappears into the night, leaving Liana trembling and confused. Selene shifts into her human form, a tall woman with silver hair and kind eyes. She helps Liana to her feet, whispering comforting words as she leads her back to the village. As they walk, Liana begins to understand the strange and ancient bond between these two clans, the cruelty of the Moros and the kindness of the Luma, two sides of the same coin. But what Liana doesn't realize is that her arrival in the forest has set something in motion, something that will soon tip the scales of this delicate balance. Unknown to Selene, Vargas is plotting his next move. He has grown tired of the truce and is preparing to break it, rallying his pack for an all-out war against the Luma. But Vargas has a secret weapon, something even Selene does not know, a dark ritual that could turn even the kindest heart to cruelty, forcing the Luma to betray their own. As the next full moon approaches, the lines between friend and foe begin to blur, and Liana finds herself caught in the middle of a conflict far greater than she ever imagined. The question that haunts her is this: can kindness survive in a world where cruelty reigns supreme? The answer may lie in the heart of the forest, where shadows whisper of a power older than the wolves themselves, one that could destroy them all, or save them. As the next full moon loomed closer, a strange tension began to hang over Murik. The villagers grew restless, feeling the weight of something unspoken lingering in the air. Liana couldn't shake the image of Vargas's cruel grin, nor the mysterious aura that surrounded Selene. She knew that something was coming, something that could break the uneasy peace between the werewolf clans. In the dead of night, when the village was silent and the world was bathed in silvery moonlight, Liana began having strange dreams. She dreamt of dark woods where the trees whispered secrets, their gnarled branches reaching toward her like ancient hands. In the center of the forest stood a circle of stones, each one carved with runes older than any human language. The stones pulsed with a dim, eerie glow, and at their center, something stirred, something that filled Liana with both dread and fascination. She couldn't tell if these dreams were warnings or visions of what was to come, but each time she awoke, her heart pounded with the certainty that they were not just dreams, they were messages. Selene had warned her that the forest was alive, filled with old magic that did not easily reveal itself to mortals. Perhaps this magic was trying to reach her, trying to show her something important. Liana began to visit the forest during the day, seeking out the places she had seen in her dreams. She wandered deeper than she ever had before, always feeling as though she were being watched, sometimes by the kind eyes of Selene's clan, other times by the sinister presence of the Moros. But no matter how far she went, the stone circle remained elusive, hidden by some enchantment. Meanwhile, Selene gathered her clan in secret, sensing the winds of change. Vargas is planning something, she told them. The truce will not hold much longer. We must be prepared for whatever he has in store. Her words were met with grim silence. They all knew that if Vargas unleashed war, it would not be fought with claws and fangs alone. There were darker forces at play. Some in the Luma clan whispered of ancient rituals long forgotten, of powers that had been sealed away for good reason. Selene tried to silence such talk, but she knew that there was some truth to it. The balance between kindness and cruelty was more fragile than anyone dared to admit. One night, Liana was drawn once more to the forest, her feet moving of their own accord. The air was thick with the smell of pine and damp earth, but underneath it, she caught a faint whiff of something metallic blood. Her heart raced as she followed the scent, pushing through the underbrush until she reached a small clearing. There, in the moonlight, stood Vargas. He was alone, his massive form casting a long shadow. But he wasn't in his full form. He stood as a man, tall and broad, his dark hair falling in wild tangles around his face. His eyes, however, burned with the same cruel fire as before. "I've been waiting for you," Vargas said, his voice soft but dangerous. Liana took a step back, but Vargas raised a hand, his expression oddly calm. "You've seen them, haven't you? The stones? The power that sleeps beneath them." Liana's breath caught in her throat. "How do you know about that?" Vargas smiled, a slow, predatory grin. "Because, little lamb, it's my power you've been dreaming of. The circle of stones, it belongs to me. It's been waiting for me to reclaim it, to finish what was started centuries ago." Liana shook her head, backing away further. "You're lying. Selene doesn't know the truth," Vargas interrupted, his voice dripping with malice. "She thinks she can protect this village, protect you from me, but she doesn't understand what's coming. The old magic is waking, and it doesn't care about kindness or cruelty. It only cares about power." He stepped closer, his eyes gleaming in the moonlight. "And I will be the one to wield it." Before Liana could respond, Vargas vanished into the shadows, leaving her alone in the clearing. Her mind raced with questions, fear, and confusion. If what Vargas said was true, then the balance between the two clans was about to be shattered. And worse, the power in the stone circle, the power Liana had been dreaming of, might not be what she thought it was. When she returned to the village, she sought out Selene, telling her everything that had happened. Selene listened with a grave expression, her eyes darkening as Liana spoke of the stone circle. "The stones," Selene whispered, her voice filled with dread. "I had hoped they were lost forever." "What are they?" Liana asked, her heart pounding. "What do they mean?" "They are remnants of the old ones," Selene replied. "Beings far older than the werewolves, older than humanity itself. They were sealed away long ago. But if Vargas is trying to wake them, then we are all in grave danger." Liana's blood ran cold. "Can they be stopped?" Selene didn't answer immediately. She looked out into the night, her gaze distant. "Perhaps. But if Vargas succeeds in awakening the old ones, it won't just be the Moros we'll have to worry about. It will be something far worse." Liana felt a shiver run down her spine as she realized that the conflict between the two werewolf clans was only the beginning. Something much darker was stirring in the heart of the forest, something ancient and unstoppable. And if it woke, no one human or werewolf would be safe. As the full moon rose higher in the sky, Liana knew that the final confrontation was drawing near. But even as the pieces began to fall into place, one question remained. Would kindness and compassion be enough to stand against the cruelty and darkness? Or was the fate of Murik already sealed by the ancient powers that had lain dormant for centuries? The forest seemed to whisper its answer, though its meaning remained just out of reach. For now, as the final full moon approached, tension gripped the village of Murik like a vice. The Luma clan prepared for battle, their once peaceful forest now tainted with the threat of dark forces. Selene, burdened with the weight of what lay ahead, led her pack through rituals of protection, hoping against hope that they could prevent the rise of the Old Ones and thwart Vargas's ambitions. But Liana, caught in the crossfire, felt a growing pull toward the stone circle she had seen in her dreams. Something deep inside her whispered that the key to stopping the darkness lay within the ancient magic, but she feared what might happen if she got too close. Desperation gnawed at her as she sought a way to end the conflict without the devastating loss of life that seemed inevitable. On the night of the full moon, the forest came alive with a natural energy. A cold wind swept through the trees, and the shadows seemed to pulse with life, as if the forest itself were holding its breath. Liana found herself drawn once again to the heart of the woods, her feet moving as if guided by an unseen force. When she reached the stone circle, she was not alone. Vargas stood at the center, his arms raised toward the sky as the stones glowed with a sinister light. His voice was low and guttural as he chanted in an ancient tongue, invoking the dark power that slumbered beneath the earth. "You're too late," Vargas sneered as Liana stepped into the clearing. "The Old Ones are awakening, and soon their power will be mine." But before he could continue, Selene emerged from the shadows, her eyes blazing with determination. "This ends now, Vargas," she said, her voice filled with quiet strength. "You cannot control the Old Ones. They will destroy everything our kind, humanity, the forest itself." Vargas laughed, a cruel sound that echoed through the clearing. "You've always been weak, Selene, too afraid to embrace the true power of our kind." As the two alphas squared off, Liana felt something shift within her. The pull toward the stones grew stronger, but this time it felt different, warmer, more inviting. It was as if the forest itself was calling out to her, asking for her help. Without thinking, Liana stepped forward and placed her hands on the nearest stone. A jolt of energy surged through her, and for a moment, she felt connected to everything, the earth beneath her feet, the trees around her, the very air she breathed. She could feel the ancient magic stirring, but it was not the dark, malevolent force that Vargas had invoked. It was something older and purer, a power that had existed long before the Old Ones had been sealed away. Liana closed her eyes and focused on that energy, willing it to rise. She whispered words she didn't fully understand, guided by the forest's will. The glow of the stones shifted, changing from a dark, ominous light to a soft, golden radiance that bathed the clearing in warmth. Vargas faltered, his chanting breaking off as he realized something was wrong. "What are you doing?" he snarled, his voice filled with rage. Liana opened her eyes, meeting his gaze with a newfound calm. "The forest isn't yours to command, Vargas. It belongs to all of us." Before Vargas could react, the stones flared with brilliant light, and the ground beneath his feet trembled. A low rumble echoed through the clearing as the ancient magic surged to life. But instead of unleashing destruction, it flowed through the trees, the earth, and the air, weaving itself into the fabric of the forest. The power of the Old Ones was being sealed once again, not by violence, but by balance. The cruelty that Vargas had tried to harness was being neutralized by the kindness and harmony that Liana had tapped into. The forest itself had chosen its path. Vargas howled in fury as the power slipped from his grasp. He lunged toward Liana, but Selene intercepted him, shifting into her Volf form with a graceful leap. The two alphas clashed in a fierce struggle, their howls filling the air, but Liana knew the battle had already been decided. The forest had rejected Vargas's cruelty, and no amount of strength could change that. With a final, powerful blow, Selene knocked Vargas to the ground, hitting him beneath her. He snarled and thrashed, but the fight had left him. The power he had sought was gone, and with it, his control over the Mora's clan was shattered. Selene shifted back into her human form, her gaze locked on Vargas. "It's over," she said softly. "Leave this place and never return." For a moment, Vargas looked as if he might resist, but then his shoulders slumped in defeat. He shifted into his full form and slunk away into the shadows, disappearing into the night. As silence fell over the clearing, Selene turned to Liana, her expression softening. "You did it," she said, her voice filled with quiet awe. "You saved us all." Liana shook her head, still dazed by what had happened. "It wasn't me. It was the forest. I just listened." Selene smiled, a rare, warm expression that lit up her face. Sometimes that's all it takes. In the days that followed, peace returned to Murik. The Moros clan, now leaderless, faded into the depths of the forest. Their threat diminished. The Luma continued to protect the village, but the bond between the humans and werewolves grew stronger. Liana became a bridge between the two worlds, her connection to the forest deepening with each passing day. And though the ancient power remained sealed beneath the stones, Liana knew that the balance would always be fragile. Kindness had triumphed over cruelty this time, but she also understood that the true strength of the forest and of those who lived within it lay in their ability to choose that path again and again. For now, peace reigned in the valley, and the moonlit nights held no fear. But the forest, ever watchful, whispered of the future, of the challenges yet to come, and the choices that would shape them. And Liana, with the wisdom of the forest in her heart, was ready to face whoever came next.